7, 8, 90. You're probably wondering, what the hell is he up to now? I've got a few events coming up. Mainly one, there's a navigation rally at the end of August. And after being at ABR, I saw a few things that I wanted to buy myself. I've ordered a few things. So first off, we've got the rally tower. So I've went for a Rade garage rally tower, carbon fibre, big glass. And the reason I've done that is to enable a large tablet to be fitted with the standard headlight and the standard screen, either by the Rally Garage fairing, which is obviously a cheaper alternative, having had this for several years now and seen it shaking on trails while you're riding. I thought Rade Garage one, and I've seen them being quite stable in videos and stuff, so fingers crossed that'll stop the shaking bit. Plus when you got a big tablet on there, it's going to be a bit more stable. So that's the plan. I've got the headlight out. There's lots of wiring in there that needs cleaned really, and just giving a bit of a refresh. I've managed to fix the immobilizer fault. It was a broken wire, which had got nipped as the bars were turning. Every time you turned the bars, it was nipping somewhere. So I've taken it out, cut it either side of the brake, spliced it in. I just have got to put a wee bit extra heat shrink on it. So it was a temporary fix just to get me out last weekend. I'll get it properly done. So this is going to be lots of wiring and stuff. I'm not really going to bore you too much about it. It's more going to be like a before and after. Then I'll bring you in at various stages when I'm fitting stuff. So in the meantime, everything's off. It gives me an opportunity to give everything a good clean because it's covered in dust from ABR. I will endeavour to bring you back whenever there's anything important to see. If you're interested in how the tower's actually fitted to a 790, click this link up here and I'll take you to the Rade Garage YouTube channel, and they've got loads of things there about how these things fit. But I'll bring you back in. In fact, I might even pull the box over and pull out and show you what it looks like. Okay, right guys, thanks for sticking with us, and hopefully you'll see a bit of a transformation in this episode. Right, this is the box. Lots of bubble wrap. Rade Garage side panels. These mount with Velcro to the side of the tank at the top end. If you've seen anything like that on the Rade Garage site. Let's see what's going on here. These are the headlights. This is one of the main reasons I've actually bought this, is because apart from obviously being a bit more stable, those are all my stickers in there. Apart from being a bit more stable, they come with some really awesome lights. I've seen some video footage of this, and the reach of the full beam is fantastic. You may have seen a clip of me riding at night recently, getting back off the boat from Ireland. And the standard lights, even with the Denali's S4s or Denali's, the S4 pods on it, the long reach of the light was virtually non-existent, and it just got me thinking about upgrading. So low beam, high beam, these are plug and play. They come with a dongle, so you don't get an error message on your dash, and all European certifications and stuff. So that is one of the main benefits of the actual conversion. Rade Garage pack everything up really well, all kind of shrink wrapped and nicely presented. These are things like the side panels to strengthen the headstock mounts, or head tube mounts as I would call them. There's brackets there to hold your indicators, and brackets there to mount the screen and your speedometer, TFT. This is tubing for around the edge of the Lexan screen. Speaking of which, this is it here, and a big massive blob of bubble wrap. So this is the look of it. So you can imagine that's a lot taller than the standard one. I haven't got it here obviously, but it just gives you an idea of what it's going to look like on the bike. You'll see tons of these running about online and stuff, so they're not an uncommon thing on 790s. I'll just put this back in its bag, because I'll try and keep it as less. It'll probably scrape the frig in a few events, but after a wee while I'll get it all fitted. We'll get in there. So the plan is to try and get this fitted in a few evenings. So I'll probably be out here just settling stuff up. I then want to give the bike a good clean, as I said. Other bits that have come, these are all your nuts and bolts. There's quite a few, so if you're into Airfix kits, it's probably the thing for you. Also comes with your 12 millimeter mount for your amps. So that's what the tablet will mount directly onto. There's bits of Velcro in there, a couple of extra adapters for your cigarette lighter, your 12 volt thing. It even comes with some Loctite. Obviously use it in certain places. There's certain places they don't want you to use it, but that's, you'll see all that in the thing. And then you've got the decal kit and the front screen for the lights. So basically you've got a decals to black out around the lights to stop it reflecting back into the cockpit. And then you've got some foam padding for around the lights and a decal to show what you're doing. Nav bar, 12mm nav bar mounts at the top. And then the paste of resistance is the main tower itself. Now, it does have a few marks on it, but generally it's looks pretty well ovened. It comes with lots of bolts and stuff on the inside. I don't know if you can see that. There's lots of bolts and stuff, sort of captive nuts put in there. Silent blocks, as they're called, to stop the vibration. But she's pretty robust, as you can hear. And by all accounts, she's something like a kilo and a half lighter than the original. So you get one of your 12 volt socket goes in there basically. The newer 890s have a couple of options for 12 volt sockets. Sat nav goes up here, indicators, wiring goes in there. You've got wiring for your sat nav to go through there. Little grommets. There's also a grommet at the bottom. I'm not sure whether that's for your air temp sensor or whether it's just like a drainage thing. I'm not actually sure. I'll find out in due course, no doubt. And then you've got a bar which goes across the bottom like the original one on the actual 790 or 890 pre-2023. But there you go. So that's the new toy, so to speak. The tablet I've ordered is not here yet. It'll be here hopefully in a couple of days. And then from there we'll be able to get it mounted and see what it looks like. But the main thing now is get the tower on, get the lights set up and get out for a wee test ride. Okay, right, first things first, I'm going back to the bike just to do some general tidy up and I'll bring you back whenever there's something significant to see. Right, this is the second time of trying. I've forgot to press record, or in fact I was in photo mode. You've heard me mention I had an ignition problem in one of the last videos. This is the wire that comes out of the aerial. The aerial, in case you're wondering, is here around the key. There's a wire that comes off it and it had a break in it around about here, which coincides with where the shroud for the headlight is bolted to the frame. It was nipped in behind it, so over a period of time it just wore out. So what I've done is I've joined the wires. They're really fine wires with like almost like a tin foil sheath over them, so it's obviously for radio interference or something. And I've put a good marine heat shrink on it, 4:1 ratio with adhesive on the inside. So it'll probably be a bugger to get off, but hopefully that'll give it a bit more strength when it's being spun around here and stop it nipping in the future. This cable goes down in there. There's the other end of that plug, focus, is down in that black hole to the right hand side as you look at the bike. And there's another cable which comes out as well, which is a little bit tight. It's got a wee bit of damage on it because it's been trapped. It's hard to see there, maybe behind my finger, kind of focus. You can see there was shrouds, so I'm just going to check the wiring in there is okay, because I don't know if that's got anything to do with my stalling. Right, main wiring's here. That just needs taken apart, cleaned up. I'll get in there and get it all good clean and maybe put some dielectric in it. A wee bit of spray, GT85, keep it clean. These are the main kind of headlight ones here, and power and stuff, and your dashboards, I think it's that one, or your TFT screen. So I'll tidy all this up and get it back together. I'm also taking an opportunity to replace my heated grips. Heated grips are 6.5 years old, so I do have a spare pair sitting there. So these are worn out, as you can probably see if I focus. So I'll take those off, put a freshie set on, and put in a new controller, because my controller is actually been cracked for some time. I don't know if you can tell around the top there. Focus. along the top of edge of it. It was cracked. I used this 3D printed mount off eBay, and it broke as well. So it's taken the opportunity to replace everything. And while I'm doing that, I'm also replacing my auxiliary light switch. It's quite a big chunky element, and I'm trying to save a bit of real estate on the bars because I have a tablet controller coming from here. So this is going to move to the right slightly. Tablet controller is going to go in, and then I'll put in a new heated grip mount here, and I've got a replacement switch for this. So my auxiliary lights are going to be used with the new Hex Easy switch. You maybe have seen these online, but they're basically a slightly smaller unit which just zip ties. It can either fit to a mirror mount or it can fit to the bar, but I'll find somewhere neat for it. And it just has a multi-function type button, and it plugs straight into the Denelli CanSmart. So it plugs into that, and then you program it as normal. So that's really give you an idea where I'm at the minute. The bike is dirty. There's a wee bit of a weeping rocker gasket, as you can tell here. This is pretty standard on 790s, 890s. It tends to be either a badly sealed half moons, but you can see the majority of it's coming out of here. So it's just a wee bit of a wee bit of nothing to worry about. So I'll not worry about it. I'll just give it a clean, and then it'll go back in, and I'll get a new gasket whenever I do the valve check, maybe next year. Other than that, it's just dust and dirt, which is what happens when you ride off-road for a wee while. I'll give the bike, once I get the tar on, I'll give the bike a good clean and then start rebuilding it again. Obviously plastics are there, and give everything a good check. It's looking good. The reservoir looks a wee bit lower than usual, but I don't know whether it's just because it's on a stand and it's leaning forward a wee bit, but I'll just check the levels and stuff before I put it back together and make sure she's good to go. And that's really it. Okay, right, that's the update for now. I'll catch you up in a wee while. Okay, just a wee progress update, just to show you what I've been doing. So obviously I've been in here cleaning, getting all the dust off these cables and connections. I've still a wee bit left to do just in here. I've managed to repair the tear that was in that, just a bit of insulation tape, and I've still got that nice big thick heat shrink over those cables, which are now tucked in nicely down by the back. I've disconnected all these, given them a good clean, hence toothbrush. Still a wee bit to do in there. I'll just get some GT85, and then I'll give the actual bike a bit of a clean because it's still pretty dusty in there. So ignition's all fixed and done. This has all been sorted out. I've put new heated grips on, although I'm still waiting for the controller to come, so this will all move across. I've put the new throttle one on. It's not getting budged, so it got fitted. So I'm using a Ducati spacer on that, so it's nice and clicky. And there's a wee bit of sideways movement, but not much back and forth, so that's good. Rest of the bike is absolutely disgusting, dirt-wise, but we'll get that cleaned up in due course. Other cables I've done from inside the headlight. These are all the connections that have come out from behind the headlight. Things like that's from a TFT, the headlights itself, and then this is the connections to the bike, along with the ACCs, extra power, etc., indicators. I think that's the key module that syncs with the key, and then that's the flasher unit for the 4D. I'm assuming that's the indicators, turn signals for you Americans. So that's that. It's not really that big a loom. I'll put it there. It's behind the back of the headlight, but it all came out okay. There's obviously the indicators are on the ground just here. I've taken them out. They're just there ready to go in the new unit, and the old headlight is here. It's a bit sad looking that it's off and stripped, but I'll give it a quick wipe down before I put it in a box and put it upstairs to sit as a spare, just in case I ever need it. Other stuff's just hanging off here. There's a wee bit of electrics to do with regard to power for the USB charger. Also the nav will need extra power, and I still have to fit the switch. So that stuff I'll do. I'll not do it tonight because it's going to take me a few nights to do, but I'll bring you back whenever I'm doing that, and then give you a bit of an update. Okay guys, hope that was interesting. Okay, welcome back. It's a couple of days later. The tar is on, as you can tell. Sat nav mount is on just temporarily, just because it's not centered, as you can tell. Indicators on, they hang off a bracket. They sit quite high compared to where they were before. Inside, I don't know if it's hard to see, but you can see the back of the speedo, and those are the indicator wires hanging down which have to be connected. I've still got to run wires for the sat-nav power because that comes out of a little grommet on the top here, so that's still to be done. I'm just waiting on some stuff coming in the post to finish that off, mainly some good gauge wiring. The brackets, side brackets here, are really sturdy. You can see they've got spacers at the top here which sit against the head tube, headstock, whatever you want to call it, and then the wiring's kind of all pretty nice and tidy in here. I'll still got to put a few zip ties on there which I'll get tidied up. In here I've fitted the hex easy switch contraption. There's a wee bit of extra wiring with it that needs to sort of get tucked away somewhere, and that's always a good place to put it. Speaking of the easy switch, it's now here. I may move it over to here or onto one of these stalks, depending on what it feels like. So I've left that wee bit of slack in the cable to do that. New heated grip controllers on. For those of you that keep breaking the KTM one, R&G do a replacement one, much cheaper. I think it's about £6. It's basically a similar clamp. Not as good quality probably as the KTM one, but it's a good fix. Better than maybe some 3D printed crap you get off eBay for 20 quid. But I've zip tied that on just to get the adhesive tape on it pretty solid, but that's good to go now. Fresh grips. Again, just need all to be cable tied up once I get the controller in here, because I've got a nav controller as well coming. So that's going to be fitted in there. I don't know, I think we're almost there. I haven't put the key in yet. Where is the key? Oh, it's in my pocket. Let's just check the electrics work. We see this will hopefully not light up like a Christmas tree. Yep, it still works, that's good. Boop. Fuel levels fail, yeah, that's because there's no thing. And it has reset itself. Oh, brilliant. So I've probably lost my trip now. Have I lost my trip? No, I haven't. Cool, it's kept the mileage, just to set the time. That's cool. That's because the power was off. I just need to check the time, and then my trip is still there. But it's just flashing because there's no fuel tank on. Okay, all good. I'll do that now, and I'll bring you back probably when I've got the nav on. In fact, it might almost be done. I'll maybe bring you in and just show you how I'm setting up my nav and take it from there. Okay, welcome back to the show. I think it's like day 4 now. I've been working on the bike. Top tip, guys, clean your bike before you work on it. It's been an absolute nightmare working on a dirty bike, to be honest. I've been in here doing lots of wiring, so just to let you know, the wiring is more or less done. I've used a few of these kind of waterproof connectors this time rather than just solder joints. So I've used those sort of to link into the heads past the headstock into the headlight area. So that's it all done. So just to come up onto the bars, changes here. You'll see here's a little adventure controller from Carpeter. I've had to move everything, shuffled it around a wee bit. This means that I used to have a switch here and the heated grips controller here, but now I have got this new hex easy switch, which is just zip tied on there, so that I can move about the bars if I need to, but I've just put it sort of in a similar place. It lights up, so it gives you a clue at least when your lights are on, unlike the old one. So that's all that kind of set up and wired in. The wiring itself has been sort of tidied up. I've tried to keep it as tidy as possible, and the routing here is all protected on the, the camel on the Rade garage brace, which is pretty chunky piece of kit actually, compared to my old Rottweiler tie rods, which did a great job by the way. These are actually pretty beefy, and probably beefier than the camel ones that you can get elsewhere. Headlight wise, they're all in. It's looking well. I'm just getting the final bits and bobs, and as I said, the wiring in here was one of my main concerns. You can see the ignition wire and the immobilizer wire are in there and sheathed up, so hopefully there'll be no more snagging or catching, and I've got them tied back into this area here on the clutch cable, because obviously the clutch cable sort of moves with the bar, so it all kind of tied up. I use these little mountain bike things to stop things chafing, but they move up and down the cables, but it just stops anything chafing there. But I might put a wee bit of extra U-edge or whatever here, just in case there's everything, but nothing should move here. This should all be pretty solid. As you can see, big brace in there, so that's good. And you can see the cables in here are nice and tight up. That's the power wire going to the sat-nav unit. Speaking of sat nav, I've gone for a carp system. It's just loose at the moment. Reason being, I'm waiting on some bolts because in Carp's infinite wisdom, they're M5 bolts, and they came with an M4, I think, on the rear garage mount. So that's still to get mounted. I don't know whether to go vertical or landscape. We'll see what it looks like, but I'm just waiting on bolts. Those had to be drilled out. For those of you that are buying a Carp thing, make sure you buy the M5 12mm mount if you're putting it on anything, because the one that comes with the Rade garage is a Rade garage is needs to be drilled out. Well, the one I got with the headlight anyway. Okay, right. Next plan is to give this a bit of a wash. Try and get most of the detritus off it. I'm off on a bit of a. I'm going to go out for a bit of a spin tomorrow, just to test everything. I've got the headlights lined up, and then hopefully that will get everything sorted out. But yeah, headlights are pretty good looking. I can't wait to get the full cover on, but I'm going to leave the cover off until I get this sorted out and get this wired up. In case you're wondering how it's actually powered, let me just set that down there a sec. Hopefully it doesn't fall off. There's a little grommet on top of the thing, so I just cut, what do you call it? And I've left enough cable in there that I can fit it portrait or landscape or whatever. But then when you're not using it, you can actually take it off and tuck it down in there. But the mount does actually have a little slot for the cable. There's a little slot for the cable there, and I've gone for the passive mount, so there's no pins, although that's still an option. So I've just gone for this kind of passive mount with a cable, and that way, you know, although I don't have dual charging, hopefully this cable should do right. If not, it's not such a bind to get that in there, because the headlights are so easy to get out. They're literally 4 bolts, pop it out, you can get into the wiring. Speaking of wiring, you can probably see in there, you can see some of the exposed wiring, but you can remember this is going to have a cover over it. So the chances of sort of getting lots of water in there is pretty slim. Plus also, these headlights are all set up to be waterproof anyway. So we'll carry on with the washing. As you can see, the bike's in absolute state. But happy with all the connectors. It looks, well, it's tidy-ish for the amount of stuff that's in there. And really chuffed how it's turned out. Okay, right, I'll get this bike washed, I'll get her built up. Okay, that's the bike more or less back together. Hopefully you can hear me okay over the rattle of the bike. I'm just warming it up just to make sure everything's okay and everything's charging. Still waiting on the bolts for the sat nav to be mounted, but I don't quite know if I'm going to go landscape or portrait on it. So that's the plan. You can see the controllers all lit up, so it's backlit as well. I don't know if you can see up here, it moves about, zooms, stuff like that. I can go zoom in. I think I need to configure it. But basically you can panning mode enabled. I think I can zoom in with a double tap, or I need to configure it basically. So that takes me a bit out. Round the front, we'll see what the lights are like. There you go. So the top light's just got an angel halo on it. Go a bit closer. In fact, I'll turn the bike off. Hold on a sec. Sorry about that racket. Okay, back to the bike. So obviously we've got main beam, high beam. We've got angel eyes on. They're slightly different colour from the Denali's. They're a bit, I think you say, a bit more amber or a bit more natural light or whatever they call it. Different K. So those are a lot wider, but that's fine. But on their own, they kind of, it's hard to tell. It's probably better if you come at that angle. You can see that the main beam's not on. And if I flick the main beam on, you can see there that it's definitely well brighter. So that's it. So good thing is the tablet's charging whenever it is. In fact, it's saying it's charging now, but that's probably just residual from the fact that the bike's on the kill switch and the voltage is maybe above 13. I don't know. It's supposed to turn off after a while, but we'll keep an eye on that. It's controlled through the CAN Smart anyway. But yeah, that's the headlight fitted. I've just got to align it now, so I'll swing it around and put it up against the garage door, get it aligned so that it's not too sharp up, and then we test ride later in the dark. Hopefully by then I'll have this fitted. Landscape wise, I quite like it because it fits with the actual TFT on the bike. Similar kind of size, and it's probably just nice and tidy kind of sitting there. And that's the way my Garmin's sat, so I'm kind of used to that. But when it comes to, let me see, if it comes to road booking, if I go to, this is the app that I'm going to be using probably for the rally. It's a bit flaky sometimes, this, it doesn't quite, there we go. I'll just do a cross-country rally sample, if I can load it. There's obviously the trip, which you can adjust up and down as you see fit. Yeah, if we come down here, you can see the tracks and stuff on it. It's really good, and then obviously I can pan with the remote, things like that. I can pan with the remote, move it across. I need to set this up. It's got red on it, so I need to set it up for zooming in and things like that. So I need to set it up for zooming in and things like that, but you can see there's a track there from trip, and you can see you can scan quite across. Anyway, I'm going to turn this off before I kill my battery. You can see the charging is now stopped. But yeah, I'll maybe come back to this once I get it all done. But at the minute, it's bike's back together. She's a lot cleaner than what she was. I'll just give her a final wipe down, get the plastics back on her, and she's good to go. So let me introduce you to the new look on the bike. This view is a little bit different from what we've been used to for the last few years. Also got a new controller here, as explained earlier on. New buttons, fresh set of grips. Everything's set out. Clutch works fine with the controller there, moving everything across about 1.5 inches or so. Let's have a look at the final thing. Obviously, Rade Garage Rally Tar is now fitted. It's looking splendid. Kind of suits the graphics as well on the bike, so it kind of blends in nicely. Not much needed with regard to getting it looking synced. I really like this new graphic here, which they've done with the slash and the black. It just kind of breaks up the orange a bit, which actually looks pretty good. So overall, very chuffed. Nightmarish things were my Denali lights. This is a little bit tight here, but it does all fit. I just had to move the cable inboard a little bit rather than run it up the outside, so it could just fit in. This just sticks in with Velcro, like kind of hook and loop or kind of extra stuff. Everything's pretty solid. I still reckon you could probably lift the bike for by the mount, and then you can see the mount in the back there. Sorry for the reflections, but you can see that it's quite hard to get at, so you actually disconnect it, put it up, and then tighten it as best you can and get it lined up. But she's all lined up there. You can flip this around 180 degrees, which will pull the center line down there, which will reduce this gap here and bring it down a little bit lower and give it a bit more weather protection. But for a first attempt, I'm fairly happy with it. Find the on button. that was it. But yeah, everything kind of, where's the key? This must be a pocket somewhere. Yeah, everything's kind of working as it should. It's booting up well, no error messages. Let me see what this on button is that it there? See if I can get it on. Yeah, there you go. So it's just booting up. I'm very new to this, so I still have to suss out what's the best way to set it up with regard to DMD or some other kind of thing, but I may turn it vertical. Excuse me, turning the phone there. I may go portrait on it just so that on this cable maybe is a bit more protected sort of down here, and therefore there you go, back in, physical keyboard, use on-screen keyboard. This must be because of it. That's done. Close that. Settings is stopped, whatever. So DMD, obviously people are familiar with that, stuff like that. So yeah, that's really about it. Right, let me go back to here, apps and stuff, and then obviously we can come out of that, and you got Google Maps, etc. Turn on timeline, lets you go back in time. Cancel that. So yeah, I don't quite know what to use, but we'll get there. I've also got my Rade app on it. I'm not really a fan of Android, to be honest. My Rade app is there. That's usually pretty good. But yeah, I'll blank all that out, no doubt. Okay, so hopefully I'll explain to you what the reasons are behind putting this on. Don't get me wrong, it's not a cheap upgrade, but I think it's well worth it, especially when you see how solid this is compared to, I mean, the whole bike's shaking there, compared to the old head unit. And I'm really chuffed with it, really pleased. I just like how it blends in with the bike. It just kind of suits it a wee bit. Anyway, right, I'm going to go out my bike for a bit. I think it's going to be wet, so I don't know how much footage I'm going to get, so I'll go out and give you a further update when I get back. So here we have the bike in the flesh, all complete with its Rade garage front end of it. I think it looks absolutely fantastic in these colours. I'm sure I'm quite biased obviously, but yeah, I think the side profile looks a lot better. The old Headlight was always a bit of a face only a mother could love, but I definitely think this is a good improvement. Thoroughly recommend it. Just come up the road in the rain, and to be honest, don't really notice any difference in the buck rate. People say that it's a bit better, but jury's still out in that one. I haven't got enough time in it. I've only done about 30 mile in it. So that's what it looks like from the front end. Sideways, it's pretty good. It's got a nice side profile. These bikes with the tank are always a bit subjective, but otherwise it's
definitely looking trick, as I would say. The cockpit wise, it's jury's still out on whether I go landscape or portrait. I've got at the moment, one thing I will say is that if you're planning on tethering a phone, it's probably not the best option to tether the carb to your phone. Probably best get a SIM. So I'll get one of those organised and run it off a daily SIM. There's some good deals out there. You can get some things for like £4 a month or whatever. Give you 50 gig, that's probably enough for when you're riding your bike. But other than that, she's looking well. I do love that headlight. Our headlights. Looks really good. Right, I'll leave you to it. I'll get a bit further up the road and hopefully bring you back with some decent scenery.